Hello, 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 hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. But don't fall asleep on me. Welcome to another episode of the Graced Home Show, where we say that family lives and laughter what it grows. It's been a time and a half. It's good to see you, even though I can't see you. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I want to welcome those who've joined us on the YouTube, those who've joined us on Twitter. They call it Twitter. Twitter. Welcome. But I love those that I can see, well, not physically see, but I see contribute on Facebook. So if you've got a Facebook account, why not? Please go on Facebook and type in Global Net TV and join us live on Facebook. You can bring your what's it called contributions and your comments. They are all welcome. I love it when I see in the interaction going on. If you've got questions, why not? Please shoot, and by the grace of God, we'll be able to answer them. Myself and my guest for today. We're going to go on a quick music break for like 5 minutes, and when we come back, or maybe less, but before while we are off, please share the link, invite someone, tell someone, hey, Crystal Show is on today, so join us. And yes, invite someone, invite a friend, invite a sister. If in fact, if you know anyone who has a child, who has a grandchild, who intends on having a child, please share this link with them because they're going to find this very useful. I will see you in 5.
Times in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow. But if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow.
Lean on me, hey, when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. It won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on.
Please swallow your pride. If I have things you need to borrow, and no one can feel those of your needs that you don't let show.
You just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. It won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. You just call me when you need me. Call me, 'cause I'm your sister. Call me, call me, call me. You're my brother. Call me, you can lean on me. Call me, you can depend on me. Call me, just call me. Call me.
Okay, so welcome back. Indeed, call me. We all at a point in our lives need someone to lean on. And you never know, maybe by the end of this show, there might be a number that will be putting on the screen that maybe it's you or somebody you know who might need to call somebody because they need someone to lean on. Thank you so much and welcome again to another episode of The Graced Home Show. What are we talking about today? This topic is sensitive. And where I come from, which is Ghana, and I know it's not just Ghana, but in most of the African countries, in my time when I was growing up, this topic doesn't get talked about a lot. Let's talk about sex. Our parents shy away from this topic. I'm not going to say a lot. I'm going to introduce my guest for today, who is no guest at all. She is Ofienipa. What I meant is she's someone who's been on the show for a couple of times. And so she's not, stranger to those who come on all the time. But I'm going to read a little bit about her. I'll bring her on and we're going to zoom straight in. Okay, so the lady I have with me today, she, first of all, she's an early childhood educator, which was one of the main reasons why I wanted to bring her on, because she's got experience and got the educational background in it. She's a founder of the Women in Christ Ministries, AGO of Songs of Praise Temple worldwide, but the main branch in Australia. That's where she and her husband, I'll make mention of him while I go on. She's the director and host for Worshippers Cry conferences. She's a Christian counselor, an advocate for children and young people, youth. She's a youth pastor herself. She's a mother to 4 amazing children. I've met them, they're beautiful. And this last bit always makes me laugh. She's the only wife, let no one cause asunder, the only wife of Bishop Sam Darko. I welcome this evening my guest, Lady Reverend Najate Darko, to join us.
Hello.
I'm sorry.
What an introduction.
You know, every time I read that last video, it always makes me laugh. Always makes me laugh. The only wife. Hey. Of course, you have to state your claim. You know, Charlie, these days, hey,
That's right. That's right.
They are from Slave Queen Association, Side Chicks Association. You have to state, Charlie, listen, why? Don't make no mistake. Yes, sir. Charlie Kufu go start. I beg. Oh man, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, welcome.
Thank you so much.
So while we go on, before I allow you to, I'll ask my question. We're going to zoom straight because I know because of technology, Google Chrome was the one that was playing us around, and that's why we couldn't get on. So please forgive us, technology, So forgive us. We're going to zoom straight in. But before we do, please, I can see Mama Pat. Charlie, you are done. Thank you so much for joining us. So, but please share. There are loads more people I don't see on. So please share. Invite someone. Tell them, hey, please make no mistake. Greystone Show is on. So, Lady Reverend, this subject again, this subject about sex is a topic that most parents, should I say yes, shy away from. When I was growing up, let me tell you before I even ask you my question. The only sex education Dad, I love you. When you chance on this program, I know you do listen. So when you listen to this video, I love you. Okay. The only sex education I ever got from my dad, myself, and my siblings were listen. And my dad had 4 girls and 1 boy. So you can understand, right? He said to us, if you mess up, I will kick you out of my house. This was the only sex education we ever got. That was it. And my mom, this is what my mom said to us. Mama Naomi, I greet you. Okay? It's all love. My mom said to us, even if you see the Adam, the minute you see it, you're going to get pregnant. And you know what? I believed it. Hey, Charlie, there's fear. And parents never spoke about this until there was this belief that after a lady, a girl, especially if you're a girl, after you have, you started your menses, that's when they sit you down and they tell you now you have come to a stage in your life where, like my mom would say, the minute you see Adam, hey, you're going to get pregnant. Don't go into that garden. It is a taboo. Okay. And that was the only sex education we ever got. Now, the reason why I reached out to you and I thought we really need to speak about this is Bible already has said it in the book of, when I was speaking to you, I mentioned this Isaiah 23, the verse. In fact, let me just quickly read this. The verse 4, it says, be ashamed, O Sidon, for the sea has spoken. Can you imagine? The sea, marine world, right? It says, the strength of the sea saying, I do not labor nor bring forth children. This is what the sea is saying. It says,
Mm,
neither do I rear young men, nor bring
mhm.
up virgins. This Bible says there is nothing new under the sun. Some of these things
That's
we're going
right.
to talk about are things that even happened in the Bible and they're happening now.
Yes.
But the worst bit is it's happening so much that we need to
Mhm.
shake a parent, we need to shake a grandma, a granddad, and tell
Yeah,
them, you need to be more vigilant. There's too much
absolutely.
going on when it comes to the way they are sexually, you know, trying to, everything has become about sex. Perfumes, they
Mhm.
have to sexualize adverts. Even common water, they have to sexualize the advert. Everything has been sexualized. Young children, these days, because of TikToks, because of all these videos going around, you see little children and they are bumping and grinding, and parents think it's fun to just
Mhm.
videotape their children doing
Yeah,
this and you put it on social media
on
and
social
they think
media.
it's cool, but it's not.
Mm.
And the next you realize an uncle is touching the child. And it's so sad. A dad, a mom is touching a child because they see all these things and they feel like, oh, God help us.
Yes, Lord.
Let me ask my first question here.
Mercy.
Mercy, mercy. What time or
May the
age?
Lord help us today.
Amen. Oh, may the Lord help us. May the Lord help us, wisdom and the grace to speak and say it as it is, you know?
That's
Hmm.
right. Amen.
All right. So let's keep going. Now, it's my first question is what time or age is it appropriate for us as parents to
Mm,
start talking to our children about that thing called sex?
okay. Thank you so much, first of all, for the opportunity to come on the show again. I really miss being on the show. So thank you so much. Thank you so much,
We
Rev.
love having
God bless you.
you.
And thanks to everyone who's joining this morning or this afternoon or evening, wherever you're joining from. Thank you so much for joining in. And I also like to thank my family, my husband, for giving me this opportunity to come on the show. So thank you so much, Bishop. God bless you. Love you. Okay. So
Hey,
first of all, with the question,
single people
what
are not shit.
age?
Hey, I'm
Mercy,
sorry, I'm sorry.
mercy, mercy. You know, first of all, before I answer the question, I want us to have this realization that things are not the way they used to be in the 80s or in the 90s or in the 70s.
Yeah.
Families have evolved, relationships have evolved, and so many things have evolved. Even our human race is still evolving. So there are a lot of changes that is happening to the family and the system and relationships. We used to have the nuclear family and the extended family. That was what I used to know when growing up.
Yeah.
But now it's no more just the extended and nuclear family anymore. It's about blended family. It's a transgender family, and it's a single mother family, or
Mm.
single dad family. So the family has evolved, and we have the grandparent families as well. I like the cross when you did the cross.
I'm sorry. Every now and
It
again, you
means
hear
that,
me cough. I'm trying to keep it on
yeah,
the low.
that's okay. It's understandable. So things have evolved, So in our times when, like you said, growing up, we have to reach a certain age or stage before our parents will now introduce a topic about sex education to us, and I
Mm.
believe I understand that stage. You have to be at the age of puberty or as a female, having your
That's it.
periods before you are being taught by your parents,
Yeah.
about sex education. I was told that I shouldn't allow any man to touch me. If I allow a man to touch me, I'll get pregnant. So that was what I was taught, so, about sex education. So in my mind growing up,
I-
even if you're a man and you hold my hand like this or even touch my skin, hey, it's an abomination. So,
oh God.
you know,
Yeah.
so growing up, I never allowed anyone to, touch my hand or anything until I think when we started understanding this sex education thing that I realized, oh, okay, so this is what my parents and my mom actually meant. I know.
Mm.
So, but right now, we are no more in that era. Families
No.
have evolved. And looking at the way the world is going, the world itself is evolving. So looking at how things are going, the system, the nation, I believe, that you start talking to your children about, their sexuality right from the day they are born,
Mm.
right from the onset.
Mm.
because I have seen, even though, yes, babies might not understand a few words or cues and all that, but the moment they begin to speak words and they begin to make sounds, you start also using gestures and making sounds, using sounds to show them, to teach them. It might not be intense at that age, but once the child is born, understand their sexuality. Because families where families, try to change, the gender of their babies, from male to
Oh yeah.
females, and the
Hmm.
system allows that, So right from the time the child is born, as a godly parent or as Christians, we must enforce that, and we must encourage that this is who you are, this is your personality, this is how you came onto this earth, this is how you were born. You were born a female, you were born this a male. Then you start introducing this sex education, because I have seen stories, I won't mention names for security reasons and for
Yeah,
confidentiality
sure,
sake.
sure.
So everything I speak on this stage or this platform is for educational purposes. Just bear with me, and no copyright whatsoever. So I have seen instances where babies at the age of 6 months, have had to go undergo as hard as this undergo sexual vaginal reconstruction because of the amount of sexual abuse that's been happening to the baby, and that baby has actually been removed from the family. So it is going on. It is a real thing. Sexual abuse is a real thing. It's not a phantom of our imagination. Years ago, pardon me. Now it's a real deal. And like you said, everything now, even on the media, is about sexuality. So people are promoting sexuality more than promoting the products, the actual products that they are selling. So if they're selling water, it has to be around that sensuality, that
Yeah.
senses, because we believe that if we don't use the senses, that sensuality, that means that
Mm.
products, will never be bought. So we are at that age where sensuality is everything. Our feelings easily get hurt, everything is about sensuality. So I believe right from the onset, when you give birth to the child or when you have a children, whether you adopted them or whether they are your stepchildren, whatever family that you are in, or whatever children or kids that you have, doesn't matter whether you're biological mom or biological parents or not, right from the time the child steps foot in your house or right from the time you give birth to the child, start educating them.
Wow, 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 wow. Start educating them. I remember when my son turned 5,
Hmm.
and we got these letters from the school that they were going to teach
Yeah.
them. They call it RT here, relationship
Mm.
education, I think it is. And in fact, before I even ask you the question, there's a video from, because I wanted to ask a teacher. Or let's finish.
Yeah.
Let's finish this question, and then after that, I'll
Okay.
ask the IT team backstage to please play that video, like a 5 or 6 minute. It's not a video. Well, you can see the audio, not see the person again, because this topic
Absolutely.
is very sensitive. They had to be careful, and
Mm.
so they were like, "No, I
Mm.
don't want my face to come. Just I will tell you what it is, but not on
Yeah.
video." So,
Okay.
what was I even saying? Let me ask. Let me go straight into the question. Let me go into the second question. Oh, yes. So that reminds me. I remember when my son was 5, they brought these letters and they said they were going to teach them, sex education. I was thinking,
Yeah.
what does my 5-year-old know? No, I don't want you. I don't
Mm.
want you to. And I remember I wasn't the only parent. There were other parents as
Yeah.
well when I was going to pick my son from school that day who were talking about it.
Yes.
And they were like, no,
Mm.
we have to put a petition in. We have to withdraw our children. We don't want our kids to be listening to this stuff. They are too young to listen to it. And obviously, again, from where I'm coming, 5 out of 5,
Yes.
what do they even know?
Yes.
They don't even know what you're talking about. Why would you want to teach them
That's
stuff
right.
like that? So I was one
Mm.
of the parents who went and signed and said, nah, take my kid out of that class. You can teach the other kids,
Mhm.
just not mine. But as time went on, they will still come home and they will still talk about it, because even though they are not in the class, when they're on the
Yes.
playground, their other friends will talk to them about it.
To talk to them
And so
about
I
it.
realized
Absolutely.
very quickly that, you know what? Let me be the one to start telling them.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they go to school, I'm not going to exclude them. Let them go in there and learn. When they come, I
Mm-hmm.
ask them, oh, what did the
Mm-hmm.
teacher tell you?
Absolutely.
Then whatever two pence I have to add, I add to it. But again, let me,
Okay.
I think I've kind of answered my question, but I was going to ask you where, because some parents believe, and again, from where we came from, because of the way we were
Mm.
brought up, again, we
Yeah.
believe that, oh, sex education there, Charlie, that's not my field. Uku school, I'll teach a catch or massa, and you mean not make control. So my question is, where should the child hear about sex education first? Should it be from the church? Do you think the church should start doing this, especially now where they are confusing the kids so much and telling them that, you know what I'm trying to say, where you have to be
Yes. Yes.
politically correct and you can't say certain things on your own video. The way they are
Yes.
teaching them this stuff, should it be the church that tells our kids about sex? The first place they hear it, should it be from the home or should it be from the school?
Okay. So thank you for that question. Um, I believe the home is, the first foundation of the child is the home. The Bible even says charity begins at home. So everything begins at home. You know, um, Character begins at home. Love begins at home. Relationship begins at home. Whatever the children see at home, that is what they learn. That is what they grow with. That is what they build on. That is what they implement. A child doesn't go to school. I don't know which country, but here in Australia, the child starts kindergarten from the age of 5, or 6. So
Mm-hmm.
depending. So the school doesn't actually start teaching them from kindy, but they start teaching them at, I think, from year 3, year 4 going, in that
Okay.
stage. So if the child is born and you have to start teaching them at that early stage, I believe it begins from the home. Um, any other institution is an addition, is an add-on. So if the
Mm-hmm.
church should teach the children about sex education, which I believe is very, very important, that the church should also do that. But the very beginning, or the very start, is the home. The home is where teaching starts. The home is where, sorry, um, everything starts. So, and the home is where the attacks is onto, because to get the right home to
Mm-hmm.
teach the children the right things, there is no perfect home, all right, and there is no absolutely 100% right home, because we as humans, we are not perfect. We are imperfect. But I believe personally in standards and strategies used in the home. If your home has strategies to help each child, or to help each child with his or her own blueprints. I believe that whatever strategies you start with them at home with, you know, that is what they also use, to go when they start schooling. I remember teaching my children about this, topic. And I continue to teach them, because then at some stage in life, they forget about it until they are faced with that question again, or until they are introduced, to that question again, and especially in the school. And I believe, I remember my daughter coming home and telling me all that they've learned. And she said to me, Mom, there are certain things you told me that are right. They were starting to teach us about, you know, the how you can change your body, and all that. So my daughter had a lot of questions on that, and she said, if a person is born with their body the way it is, why do they want to change it? Because now, if you change the body, you have a
Yeah.
lot of medical problems, medical bills. You have a lot of, because I have actually seen youth that have been suicidal because
Yeah.
of rejection, of the fact that they changed their bodies from the
Mm.
original state.
Yeah.
They now have what they called, or what they term, biological bodies.
Mm. Mm.
So,
Mm. I'll say
you
that.
know, yes, and based on what I said to them at home, when they started teaching them in school, they realized the difference, you know. But because I kept teaching them at home, and I kept showing them the biblical views on this particular
Mm.
topic, they now understand it. So if anybody else try to teach them anything contrary to the doctrines of the Bible and
Yeah.
what it says about sexual abuse and our sexuality, they will stand up and defend their, what they believe in straight away.
Mm.
They will not even give you the chance, to talk about it. So I believe it's from the home. So this is where if the home is broken, then there's a serious problem there. If the home is broken, if the home has issues, that
Yeah.
are unresolved, if the home has favoritism, if the home has, physical abuse going on or
Yeah.
different types of abuse going on, then that place would not be a safe haven, or that place would not be the first standard to start, because then the child will only learn about abuse, because all what the child will know is what the parents are doing to them, or
Mm.
what the parents are doing to each other. That's
Yeah.
what a child will know. Because many a times, as families or as parents, we tend to talk a lot to our children, but we forget that our children also learn from how they see us. They learn from our actions, they learn from
That's
our
true.
examples. You see,
Mm.
not just what we say to them. So you can sit down and educate your children about any topic. After a while, after a day or two, it's just gone out of the brain. But then
Yeah.
when they see you actually implementing what you say,
Yeah.
or doing what you have taught them, then it becomes a reality to them. Then it becomes, a lesson to them. So then they
Mm.
begin to follow, because if you are supposed to lead your children the right direction, you have to lead by example. You don't
That's
just talk
right.
about sex education and then you do the contrary to what you're teaching them.
Mm.
So,
Mm. Mm.
um, based on that, the home is the first place, I believe, to start teaching the children about sex education.
I
But
so
if the
agree.
home is
Mm.
broken, or the
Mm.
institution of the home, you know, has not got the right foundation to teach the child, this is where I believe that other institutions like the church should stand in, and start teaching the children, or other institutions, like the family homes, or
Mm-hmm.
this is where counselors come in. This is
Yeah.
where people like us come in, to now begin to stand in for these kids and begin to teach them, take them through sexual education, through the school, or through programs, sexual educational programs that will help these children understand. Because if they don't understand, the damage is a long-term thing, sometimes even permanent. And the trauma
Yeah.
that comes with it is
Yeah.
very, very serious. Yeah, so
Yeah.
this is my
Okay.
take on
Thank
that.
you. Thank you, Reverend Najat. Before I even ask you, I'm going to say a little story, and all these stories, maybe one or two that I'll say, they're all true stories. These are things that have
Yes,
happened, and I'll even tell you where I got the source from. And after
absolutely.
I share them, my next question to you will be,
Mhm,
so what do you look out for if you're a parent in your
mhm,
child to let you know that this child
mhm,
is being touched in a way that they shouldn't? This child is
mhm,
being sexually abused. If you're a grandparent, what do you when you maybe your child comes to leave your grandchild with you? What do you look out for to realize that my grandchild is being touched? Something wrong. So something is going wrong in the home. And before you answer that question, you said something which was some of the kids, these stories that I've heard, at the end of the day,
yeah.
what the kids said was they did not even realize that it was wrong for their
Mhm,
parents to be having a sexual relationship with them. Now, this is a guy
mhm,
who lives in America, and he
mhm,
was given the story where
mhm.
his mom had mental issue. Okay, she was on
Okay.
drugs and she
Mm.
was she was depressed, and so half the time she was there, but mentally, but she was there
She
physically, but she
wasn't.
wasn't there. And then the dad started abusing the older sister, and he would
Oh
see
dear.
when the dad, because the his sister would be crying. Now
Oh
the
my
dad started
gosh.
abusing him. There were three
Mm.
or four of them siblings, and the
Mhm,
dad was
mhm,
abusing every single one of them because his wife
mm.
would not allow him, because she was, because of the state
Yes.
he said she would, you know, excuse me to use the word, defecate on herself and everything. And so she wasn't even in a
Yeah.
state to take care of her own self, not to talk of her children. And so
Yeah.
the man, instead of going out, and I don't encourage this, but instead of doing that to your child, my friend, seek help.
Yeah.
But rather, what he
That's
was
it.
doing is he was satisfying himself with his own children. And the
Oh my
boy said
goodness.
it became so, like, it was almost every day, all four of them, that
Oh
he
my
got to the
gosh.
point where
Wow.
he actually thought it was normal. He thought that's what fathers do to all their kids. And so it was not until, and the dad was also physically abusing them too. So it was after teachers started seeing signs on him. And because of that, he was a child who was very disobedient. He didn't respect anyone. He didn't understand what authority meant because his dad was doing things he wasn't supposed to do. And so he, in his mental state, he didn't respect no one. He didn't want to hear anything from anyone. He didn't trust any adult because of what he
Sure.
was going through.
Going
And so
through.
it was not until they brought, and he said every time they brought social services to the house, he was scared that if he said anything and they leave, his dad would beat him up again. And so he would tell his dad, oh, he's sorry. He's not going to, do anything to
Yeah.
make them
Yeah.
realize that something like that was going on. And so he was always covering up for his dad until they
Mm.
took his dad away. Then he was confident enough to
Mm.
tell the
What?
psychiatrist or whoever,
Mm.
they took him to, that this is what my dad was doing to every single one of us. And he
Mm.
said he didn't realize that it was wrong what his dad was doing. There was another story as well of,
Uh,
and this one, where people, when we're talking about this, I even mentioned this morning, and Reverend Doreen was saying she didn't realize that mothers did this to their sons as well. Well,
oh
guess
yes,
what?
they
It's
do. Yeah.
happening. Women
Mm-hmm.
also do it to their own sons. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
what would make a mother who is supposed to, naturally we want to take care of our children. We want to make sure
Yes.
they are safe. Why would you be
Mm.
the same mother who does this to your
True.
son?
Yeah. Mm.
So we need to open our eyes. I'm not trying
Mm.
to bring division or distrust among family. All I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying is if you're a parent, Reverend Najat
Mm.
is going to mention some of the signs. Start looking for
Yeah.
them, because the way the world is going, the enemy is looking to
Mm.
destroy the children from a very young age. If they don't fall into this ABCD up to Z, then he will try every way to de-virginize our children however he can. And unfortunately, if the mother or the father has not given themselves to God and fear God and will stay away from certain things, they are the same ones who are supposed to take care of these children who will be destroying their lives. Reverend Reverend Ajat, I hand over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. So, some of the signs, there could be, um, many of them, but I'll just round it up to a few,
Go on.
depending on the personality of the child.
Mm,
So first of all, if you realize an emotional disconnection as a parent, if you see
mm,
emotional disconnection of the child,
yeah.
from you as a parent, or from relationships, or from teachers, or from friends, that emotional disconnection is there, then that is also a red flag,
Mm,
because children have their own personalities and have their own behaviors. And we do have children who have challenging behaviors, and they use these behaviors as a means. They have these behaviors because they're trying to communicate, something to the parents, a need that is not being met. So when the child's needs are not being met, it could be an emotional need, a physical need, then you realize that this child will start to show forth some behaviors, and
mm,
to that child, that's their way of communication. So no behavior is demonic. Sometimes
mm,
we, the Christian parents, we tend to say, oh, this is spiritual, this is demonic. Yes, the spiritual world is real and it's true, but not every
mm,
behavior is demonic. Your child is having that behavior, or that challenging behavior, or that outburst because something has triggered it, or there's something happening that a child is trying to communicate to you as a parent.
yeah.
And because the child doesn't know or understand how to communicate that across to you, how to
Yeah.
communicate that need to us as parents, then they begin to show forth some aggressive behavior. Unless
Mm,
the child has a medical condition, or a mental issue, that explains the behavior. I believe personally that under normal circumstances, if a child hasn't got all of these underlying diagnoses and underlying medical, issues, and the child is
mhm,
perfectly normal,
mhm,
and then a healthy child and goes about doing all the things that a healthy child will do, and all of a
yeah.
sudden you start seeing that emotional disconnection, that is a
Yeah.
red flag. It's a
Mm,
red flag. And sometimes some children will physically show that emotional disconnection, but others
mhm,
don't. It's because we
mm,
have children who are more reserved, and are more afraid or timid, and they don't show
Yeah.
these signs easily.
Mm-hmm.
Now when you begin to see sign of extreme timidity as well, extreme fear, like
Mm-hmm.
even if the child does or makes a mistake or makes a little miss, and the child sees the parent or the grandparent or the abuser around, and they go, oh, so that kind of
Yeah.
fear that
Yeah.
easily
Definitely.
transpires,
Yeah.
or comes out of that child, is an indicator. So we have indicators. So um,
Mm-hmm.
we have indicators, we have triggers, and we have signs. So you can sometimes you might not see the whole sign, but you can see an indicator, and
Yeah.
sometimes you might see an outcome of a trigger. Something might have triggered something. So if you
Mm.
see emotional disconnection, and parents don't use this, oh, children lie a lot, so you don't believe your child or you don't trust your
Mm-hmm.
child.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I understand children might be making up stories, but ask yourself this question: why is the child making up this story? What is their
Yeah.
motive of making up this story? Is the child
Yeah.
just making up the story because they want to make up a story, or because they
Mm.
want to seek your attention? Are they trying to seek your attention? If they're trying to seek your attention by making up stories, then that means that you are not giving them the attention they need,
Oh, yeah.
based on what they're trying to communicate to you. So maybe they're trying to
Mm.
communicate something to you, but at that age, or maybe depending on the age of the child, they might not be able to verbalize everything. They might not even be able to understand what's happening to them you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
and this is where they need us as parents to come in. And sometimes I know it's hard as a parent or as a mother or as a carer, to be able to understand the needs of each child, and to be able to go and to say, hey, okay, I understand, that you're trying to put your point across. I understand that you're trying to tell me this,
Yeah.
but I don't fully understand why you're telling me this. So this
Mm.
is where, we come. It's like, we parents, when our children are grown and are getting ready to get married, we like to
Yeah.
do investigation, about the background of the other. So it's the same thing, you know do investigations. What are your children being taught in school? When they go outside with their friends,
Exactly.
what conversations are they having with their friends? Because
Mm.
sometimes it's not just the home. The abuse might actually also be outside, among
Oh, yes.
friends.
Oh,
you
yes.
know and then, if it's happening among friends, they think, oh, the friend can easily, the abuser, or who is a friend, can say, if you tell your parents, you are dead. Tomorrow if you
Yeah.
come to school, you are
Exactly.
dead. And
Mm-hmm.
I have had to deal with that as well, as a parent, where some people try to, abuse my son in his school, and regardless, even though it's a Christian school, it will
Mm.
shock you that, it is everywhere now. you know um so they were trying to, abuse my son, verbal abuse, and trying to encourage him to watch pornography, and telling him that, oh, it's a
Wow.
normal thing for boys. It's a normal thing. It's okay for boys to watch these things. So imagine if I hadn't, taught my son about these things at
Yeah.
home, and, knowing that it's not, right,
Yeah.
for you
Yeah.
to watch all of these things, because it has its long-term effects and damages,
Yeah.
to you. And
Yeah.
if we are not delivered from those things, then it
That's
becomes an
right.
addiction. It becomes a habit, and then, it becomes like a cycle. You take it on others, and other, take it on other people, and it becomes a cycle. The
Exactly.
abuse becomes a
Let
cycle.
people
So
let
this is
people, they
where,
say. Mm.
exactly. This is where you have to start teaching your children at an early age, because you go to school and you see a 2-year-old being abused, or a 5-year-old being
Yeah.
abused, or a 3-year-old coming
Yeah.
out and say, hey, man, this person touched my body, this person did this to me, and then they are being told it's normal. It's okay to do those things,
Mm. Mm.
especially if it's against your beliefs and all that. So we need to, see these signs, and then have a conversation with your children every now and then. Talk to them, let them feel that you trust them. Even if it's a
Mm.
lie, you as a parent, you will know that what they are saying is a lie.
Mm.
Tell them that you believe them. Don't make them feel like, okay, if I come to mom and dad, they will not believe me.
Yeah.
They won't
Yeah.
trust what I say. And
Yeah.
then, they go out to their friends, and then say that, oh, I trust my friend will believe me. And this is where
Mm.
they are now exposed to bad friendship. They are not exposed to other external forces. Why? Because
It's true.
the one they believe, the one who is supposed to hold them and guide them and defend them doesn't believe them, you know, and think it's their fault. Because I've had stories where the the parents actually abuse their children on top of, or they
Oh,
abuse their children when their children are trying to tell them that somebody else is abusing them. So they
yeah.
slap them and beat them up, physically abuse them, and tell them that, hey, you're lying and all of these things. So this is where I had to actually come in, as an advocate and as a counselor, to help both
Mm,
families and the children, based on that. So if you see emotional disconnection, if you see any
mhm,
indicators like the child is more reserved than usual, they are not
yeah.
participating, in daily activities, they
Mhm,
have, triggers, they are having to, to show some extreme behaviors at school or
yeah.
inappropriate language, inappropriate
Mm,
behaviors. Meanwhile, the
mhm,
child is not like that. So if the child
yeah.
starts, showing these, characters, these
Right.
behaviors,
Yeah.
and you begin to wonder, my child is not like that. My child will
Strange.
never say swear words,
Mhm,
so then
mm,
it's an indicator, it's a flag. You need to now find out what's happening to the child, and if the child is trying to talk to you, don't push them away, even if it's a lie. Listen to your child,
listen.
find out,
Listen.
talk to them. Yes,
Parents.
actively
Listen.
listening, parents,
Mm,
actively listening, because
ah,
children will not get up out of anywhere and make up these stories, especially when you realize or when you know that you haven't actually taught them these things.
yeah.
How do they know about this? Somebody else is teaching them. Somebody else is, physically showing them how it's done. Somebody
Yeah.
is showing them videos outside of your home that it's absolutely okay to watch pornography. Someone is telling them something. So it could even be an uncle, it could even be a grandparent, it could
Mm,
even be a member of the family. And we've had cases where I've actually had to deal with cases where the abuser is extremely friendly, extremely
yeah.
good, extremely taking care of that child, buying the child all that the child needs. The child is always saying, hey mom, I love to be with uncle, and um the child is always, so they build emotional attachment to these
Yeah.
abusers. you
Yeah.
know they build, eventually the child builds an emotional attachment. And so
Yeah.
without the abuse, if the child doesn't now get the abuse, all the time, then the child begins to look elsewhere for that abuse or become the abuser himself when the child
Yeah.
grows up.
Yeah.
It's
That's
that
so
emotional
true.
attachment. So this is where parents, I will encourage you, build that emotional attachment with your children. Let them trust you enough to even come and tell you a lie.
Mm,
Let them trust you enough to come and tell you everything, even if the tooth comes
mm,
out or their ears are hurting. Let them trust you enough to come, oh, mom, my ears are hurting me. My nose is this, or this person tried to touch me and I did that. My friend said this to me and all that. But if that relationship with your child is not there, your child will not be able to come to you and even talk to you about their challenges or about what they're going through. And
yeah.
this is where the challenging behavior comes in, because the child is trying to communicate with the parent and the parent don't seem to see from the child's point of view. Why is the child lying? First of all, let us find out what is causing the child to lie about issues like this, because many a
Yeah.
times I hear my child, oh, kids
Mm,
lie all the time, so it's just a child thing. No, 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 no. In the world that we are in today, it's not a child thing. It's not lying.
no.
You know, find
Mm,
out what even made the child come to lie to you, or say those lies.
yeah.
Tell the child, it's not your fault. I understand that. Is this the reason why you said this to me or that to me? I want to know why. I want to know why you are not in trouble. I want you to be able to trust me. Talk to your child. If you see
Communication.
the child
Mm,
has now all of a sudden isolate themselves, that's another indicator, isolation. The child will
mm,
isolate themselves from every other adult, or every other, they will isolate themselves emotionally. They might
mm,
not necessarily isolate themselves physically, but emotionally they will isolate themselves. They begin to
mm,
coil up and go into their shell. That is a red flag. find out what is going on. It might not necessarily even be a sexual abuse. It might be, in the abuse category. It might even be a physical one. It might be even be a verbal abuse. It might even be something that's happening. Naturally, when children are growing, they haven't developed all of these skills to understand
Mhm.
their body, to
Mm.
understand why,
Yeah.
things are the way they are. And sometimes we as parents, we believe or we think that, oh, as soon as I say this to my child, I expect my child to understand with the level of understanding that I, as a parent, understand. No,
Yeah.
remember, you as an adult, you have built that skills. Your child
Yeah.
hasn't. Your child is the raw material. So they are now developing skills. They are now learning. They might not be perfect.
Yeah.
Of course, they might
Mm.
say a few things because they haven't developed that skills. The ability
Yeah.
to even come to you and tell you that, mommy, I am afraid that this will happen. I am afraid that this is going to happen. They haven't even built that skills yet. But if you are open to them and let them feel that they can trust you as their parent or as their father or as their carer, they
Mm.
can come to you and tell you everything. They will even tell you why they lied. This, oh, I lied
Okay.
because of this, or
Mm.
I lied
Mm.
because,
Mm.
I wanted
Mm.
this guy's
Mm.
lolly, or I wanted, mom to buy me chocolates, so I lied. You see? And some of the
Mm.
times it's true, the children lie because the abuser have told them that if you tell your parents, I will kill them.
That's
So they
right. That's
threaten
right.
them.
That's the fear they put
Or
in them.
if you
Yeah.
tell your parents about this or anybody about this, I will kill you. So
Mm.
they are afraid to talk. But the moment you separate the abuser from the child, then you realize that the child cannot open up and the child cannot trust you and talk to you about these things.
Yeah.
So these are some of the indicators: emotional
Thank
disconnection,
you. Yeah.
isolation, whatever, whether
Hmm.
emotional, physically,
Yeah.
um, de-attachment or attachment. If you realize that
Mm.
this your child is getting too attached to one particular person, please find out what is going on
Mm.
because
It's
you never
true.
know.
You
Yes.
know, this again is Reverend Najat is a true story. I know well, our time is almost up. We're gonna round up in like maybe less than 5 minutes, and not next week, but the week after that. Next week we're going to deal with another topic, and then the week after that, which is the 24th, I think it is. Reverend is going to come back, and we're going to go into behavior. Some is it behavior? What's the topic again? The behavior, some behaviors of you know. I don't want to say the word and say it wrongly, but some certain behaviors in children and how to
Behaviors in
understand.
children.
So,
Yeah.
so you know what? This thing you were saying, I believe this so much, Reverend Najat, and
Mm.
everyone that's listening to me. And there's some comments here. I'm going to take time, hopefully, God help me to be able to read them. I believe so much
Mercy.
that the enemy, you know what,
Mm.
is really going after the boy child now. I
Yes.
mean, it's been like that for a while, but now more than ever, you know how God has placed the man as the head of the house. The enemy now is trying so hard to make women again. I said this during the women's, when they were celebrating the Women's Day, that I
Yes.
am so for that. Yes, there are some men who mistreat women and they have to realize that,
Mm.
hey, Charlie, hey, Charlie, yeah, bro, master, actually, walk all over us. But the way I
That's it.
see the world now, or the system, the world we're in, they're trying to make it look like no, it's the woman who's supposed to be, in charge all the time, and it's women who this, and it is women who that. And if there's a woman advocate here, I'm not trying to belittle women, but what I'm worried about now is how they are try to make the men feel like they're less. Now, I used to think that when it comes to abuse, sexual abuse, it was just women. Honestly, long time. This is why I used to think that if they said there's
Mhm.
ever rape, it's only women who get raped. But that's a lie. Men get raped
Yeah.
too. Now, this story
Yes.
is a story which is a true story. Someone
Mhm.
who is a friend, and I don't want to make it so obvious, but they told me the
Yeah.
story about how their mom used to trust a friend of theirs that they used to call auntie,
Mhm.
and they
Mhm.
used to allow when she comes to the house, oh yeah, you can take him, out, and this is Ghana, not even here, right?
Mhm.
This gentleman is now an older gentleman who's even married with his own kid now, but
Mhm.
for whatever reason, we're having a conversation and this came up, and when they said, I was like, huh, really? And this lady that the mom trusted
Mhm.
so much that, oh, it's okay,
Mm.
yeah, you can come and take A or B out,
Wow. Mhm.
slowly groomed this young man, and then
Mhm.
started having, these affairs with this
Yes.
young man. And
Affairs.
he got so used to it and he thought it was such a
Mm-hmm.
normal thing. And I'm thinking,
Mm-hmm.
the enemy is so much. And you know, when you spoke about the boys in school who were trying to get your son to watch
Yes.
porn, you best believe they
Yes.
tried that with my son too. But by the grace
Mm-hmm.
of God, my son told me, I found
Mm-hmm.
out. I was like, huh? Well, you know
Mm-hmm.
that you're a child of God and blah, blah, blah. So this is
Yes.
time. It is time for parents to sit down. It is time for grandparents. When you know, your parent, your sons and daughters are too busy and they drop your kids off. It is time for us to
That's it.
sit them down and start telling them what it
Mm-hmm.
is. Because if we
That's
don't,
right.
the world will try
We
to
tell
pull,
them. Yes.
push certain things on them, and you don't want that.
Yes.
And again, like you said, it's true. It's not just in the home, but teachers are doing
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah.
We've got doctors who are doing it. It, it's
Yes.
it's it's everywhere. Now there was a
It's
story.
everywhere.
If anyone
Mm-hmm.
has ever heard of this program called Secrets, is a Ghanaian, pastor who's doing it. And there was a story of a young girl. Again, when
Mm-hmm.
parents have misunderstanding, when you said this thing about broken homes, the
Yes.
and I don't understand how a mother, you have a misunderstanding with a man and you leave your
Mm-hmm.
daughter or you leave your
Mm-hmm.
children with the man to take care of, and then you left the woman left the child and went away.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The child, the daughter eventually had to live with a step brother as well. And the girl said
Mm-hmm.
the dad was always bringing different women into the house. And you know that could be said. Now it's not just even parents who also abuse children, but it be
Mm-hmm.
among siblings. And so
Yes.
she and her
Yes.
brother started doing what they saw their father doing in the house
Mm-hmm.
with different women all the time because they
Oh
thought it
my
was a
gosh.
normal
Yes.
thing to do. Now,
Mm.
fast forward, the the brother left the house because he said he didn't like what was going on, and
Mm-hmm.
now the dad was living with just the daughter, and the daughter also
Mm-hmm.
said to the dad, I don't like you bringing different women into the house.
Mm-hmm.
Slowly he started also sleeping with the daughter, and it became a thing. The lady said she even went to uni and she was still doing this with her dad, and
Yeah.
it had
Mm-hmm.
become a normal thing to her. She
A
didn't see
normal thing.
anything wrong
Yes.
with it
Mm-hmm.
until she got married. And then she had two, I don't know if anyone has come across this video. She had two children.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
somewhere along the line, after the second born, the father died. And then the man is in America. And you know, America, before they take your kids, they have to do a DNA.
Yes.
They do a
DNA.
DNA, and the firstborn
Absolutely.
doesn't belong to the man,
Oh
the
dear.
husband. So, and now the father is dead and gone. And the lady doesn't know how to
Mm.
tell
Doesn't
the
know how
husband
to
that
tell the
it is
husband.
my own father's child. And I've been doing this with my dad since I was little. There's so much
Wow.
going on. We need to
Mm-hmm.
open our eyes. We need to start noticing certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let the enemy
That's it.
take your children, and destroy their
That's
future,
it.
because these things, when it start, like you said, it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
stop. Reverend
Mm-hmm.
Najat,
Doesn't.
just before we round up, what would
Mm-hmm.
you say to a parent out there who will say, oh, these signs that you mentioned, and one of them too, that in Ghana, it's funny, but when you were saying
Yeah.
it, I laughed somewhere along the line, because in Ghana, this is how people will notice. They'll say, hey, with
Yeah.
your what basu? Hey, now you have,
Yeah.
how do I even say the
Mm-hmm.
English word? You have come on,
Mm-hmm.
haven't you? Now you
You
have
have
changed. All of a
spoiled.
sudden, you are
You
putting
have
powder on
spoiled.
your face. All
That's
of a
the word.
sudden, you are wearing skimpy clothes. Hey, this girl, you have tasted the Adam's apple. You weren't supposed to. This chick, you have changed. Something has gone on. And that's how they know that something has gone on, because the behavior itself will
That's it.
change.
That's
And
it.
one of the things I remember, like listening to
Yes.
stories and talking to people,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it comes to
Yeah.
the girl child, they begin to have
Mm-hmm.
belly ache problem, especially the babies. They'll start complaining
Mm-hmm.
so much about their belly, and today they are sick, tomorrow they
Yes.
are sick. Maybe it is time for you to take them to hospital, and just tell the doctor, you just check and make sure my daughter or
Yes.
my child
It's
is okay,
okay.
because the
Mm-hmm.
way the world is going now,
Yes.
you don't have to use just two eyes, so four
Yes.
eyes. That's what you need to keep our children safe. But the enemy does not
Yes.
destroy them. What would you say to a parent in just maybe 2 minutes, and we'll round up? What would you say to a
Mm-hmm.
parent who probably has noticed that, hey, not knowing my husband is doing this to my child, and now I've
Mm-hmm.
realized, and I don't know what to do. I
Yeah.
don't know who to talk to.
Sorry.
Or maybe it is a
Mm-hmm.
husband who's realized, hey, not knowing my
Mm-hmm.
wife was actually doing this with my son. My God, what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to them?
Thank you so much. So, as a parent, if you realize these signs, we have something called early intervention. So,
Mm,
early intervention is not just when the child has developmental issues or when they have developmental delays. Early intervention is seeking help, for you as a family, and for the abuser to also seek help. And for the one who is not the abuser, like you said, if maybe the father finds out that the child is being abused, please don't keep quiet. I know sometimes it's hard for parents to talk about these things, especially when we look at it from the cultural perspective, because
Mm.
some families culturally, prefer to solve things among the family and among themselves. That's what they believe,
Mhm.
that whatever issue is in the family, would like to sit down as a family and resolve it without any external help,
Mm.
or without needing counseling. So I do respect the cultural views, and I do respect families who have that bonding. I do respect that. But if you need to seek help, please do so. Seek help for
So,
yourself, seek help for your daughter. Because if you don't seek help for your daughter, the trauma and the long term effects and the damages are permanent. And it's
mm.
hard unless you are a faith-based person like myself or a Christian and you need deliverance. Then
That's
only God can heal you. Only God can bring restoration. So if you are a family, and I'll use this opportunity, if you don't know God, please, I will invite you. He is the ordinator of the family. He is the head
right.
of the family. And for your
Mm-hmm.
family to, fight all of these battles and all of these challenges, you need God, because, some people say, yes, if God didn't bring sex, then all of these things wouldn't happen. Right.
Mm.
Isn't it? But the thing is
Mm-hmm.
that God has his own intentions, excuse me.
That's it.
God's intention for sex was in the context of marriage.
Yeah.
Sex is pure, sex is peaceable, it's
Mm.
enjoyable among two, a man and a woman. That's how God intended it. So everything that God intended for good, somebody else is taking it. The devil is taking it and make it look so evil.
Right.
So today the context of sex have been taken out and make it look so evil, so
Mm.
abusive. So it's all about domination and authority. That's what these abusers use. It's all about
Yeah.
being in control, dominate. It's all about power struggle. That's why they use sex.
Mm.
But sex, we are the image bearers of God. And
That's right.
God, brought that as a unity, a peaceful bonding, intimacy between a man and a husband and the wife,
Mm.
not
Mm.
between Adam and Steve, and not between
Yeah.
Ephia, Ephia and
Yeah.
Amma, or not between, how do you call it? Stephanie and Stephanie. Sorry if you're called Stephanie. I'm just using the name, as a please forgive me. I don't mean you are, and so it's very, very important as a parent, that
Yeah.
you seek help. First of all,
It's
if
true.
you're a Christian parent, the first person you go to is your God. Pray to God. He's the only one who can deliver you. Secondly, seek for external help. If you need counseling, seek for counseling. How can you go about this? How do you deal with this? How can you help your child? How can you? Because if you seek intervention early, if you seek for counseling early, you would have at a point, stop certain damages and certain trauma from happening,
True.
or even, cut short the payment or the long term stages of these trauma or these abuse. Seek help. First of all, seek that help. Second, lastly, don't be shy to speak up. Use your voice. Use your voice. I always tell my children, use your voice. Speak up. Speak up for what is right and speak up against what is not right. Speak up
Mm.
against these sexual abuses. If your children, don't be shy. Don't say, oh, my society will reject me. My community will
Exactly.
reject
What will
me.
people say
My
about
family
you?
will reject me. And
Mm.
so because of that, you stay in and endure. Honey, it
Mm.
is better for that rejection than to endure the permanent damages, the trauma, the mental illness that
Yeah.
comes as a result of these things. It is even worse than rejection. It would have been
Yeah.
better if you had been rejected and feel safe and feel free and feel you
Yeah.
have life, and
Mm.
start all over again than to stay in that abusive relationship or that abusive trauma, or to even allow your children to stay in that place and say, oh, well, I'm protecting my marriage, I'm protecting my family, so whatever it is, we can resolve it, honey. If you could resolve it yourself, why haven't you done so? This shows that you need help, external help. There is nothing wrong in seeking for counseling. There is nothing wrong in telling
Yeah.
others, using your voice to say, hey, I've been raped, I need help. There is nothing wrong in saying, I've been abused or my child has been abused. What can I do to help my child? There is
Mm.
nothing wrong in doing so. When you seek for early intervention, it will better help you as the parent and also help the child. And it will
Yeah.
really, really go a long way um, in helping the family. So early
Mhm.
intervention is good. Remember looking for these triggers, seek professional help as well. Speak spiritual help as well. If you have a pastor or a church you can trust, you can go to or seek counseling from, please, I'll advise you to do so. If there is a number you can call on, a domestic violence line, you can call that number, or if it's child protection, call that number, and seek for help. You
Yeah.
know, early intervention is very, very important. The
Yeah.
earlier you seek for help, the earlier
Hmm.
you get good outcomes. Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you
thank you
so much,
so
Reverend
much,
Lori.
Reverend
Reverend
Najate.
Lori.
Yeah. Amen. Hey, but the responsibility now, not now, I beg. It's Lauren, thank you. It's Lauren, thank you. The responsibility is, hey, Sally, fasting now. How much will be at that? And then you are up praying. Hey, it's too
I'm
much.
telling you.
It's another level.
I'm telling you.
But I thank God so much for your life. I think there was one or two questions, but um,
Okay.
we definitely will be tackling that in two
Okay.
weeks when Reverend Najat comes back on. I want to say thank you so much to Mama Pat Durant. I want to say thank you, Mama Joa. Thank you, Mama Comfort. Yamin Sharp. Thank you so much. Mama Patience from Ghana. Thank you so much for joining us. Hey, my sister Shana Banana. How are you? Thank you so much for joining. Sister Lucy, I know you all have to go to Bible study. My pastor will crucify me. I have to go for Bible study. Thank you so much for joining us. Um, Mama Comfort said, Reverend, sometimes the home is not broken, but parents do not care or have no time to teach the children, nor take notice of what is going on with the children. Sometimes they are busy bees. So true.
Mhm.
So true.
So true. This is why the
So true.
parents need to take time. This is why the parents need to make time. I'm not even use the word take time. Make the time for your home.
Be
If you are not going
intentional
to
about
make
it.
time for
Else,
your home, you are not going to make time for your family, then why do you have the family in the first place? A family is not a burden. A family is your priority. It should be
you
your
are right there.
priority first before your work, before
Mm,
any other thing else.
mm,
Of course,
mm.
if you are a Christian, your God should be first. Then your second is your family. So your family is important, very, very important. So if a parent is not giving that attention to the family or listening to that, to the family, then there's going to be serious problems in the home, unresolved
Serious.
problems,
Mhm.
serious. And some of these problems are even hidden because the child is not able to, or even doesn't know how to come out with these things. And I understand the workload on parents, that sometimes the workload is too much that we don't even have the energy, to talk to our children about these
Yeah.
things or to even find out what's happening in our home. Honey,
Oh, that
remember the
mercy.
Bible says a wise woman builds a home, not just her marriage. A wise woman builds a home. Your home needs building,
Mm,
and it will take
that's right.
you and God to build that home. And building
That's
that
true.
home doesn't take one day or 2 days or months. It takes years. If a natural building takes, weeks and years to build, remember your home is the same. It will take years to build. So remember you are building something,
Mm.
and the more you leave that thing you are building, the more you expose your home to external, forces. And these
Yeah,
forces, of course, will come in and build your home for you. So
my
whatever you
God.
don't give your
Help
attention
us,
to
Lord.
begins to build your life. It'll build your home. So
Wow.
parents, please, let's be very attentive. It's my advice from one parent to the other.
Mm.
Let's be vigilant. Be vigilant about the things that go on in your home. Don't just,
Mm.
put deaf ears onto it, and don't just,
Yeah,
deliberately disregard what is happening in your home and say, well, I leave it to God alone so God can handle it. God has also given you brains and wisdom to handle certain issues in your home. And I believe God can use you as a tool, as a vessel to even
that's right.
bring about solutions in your home, and to
Yeah.
teach your children. So remember, we as parents, we are guardians. God has
Mm.
given us children to guide them.
Yeah.
to give them, to guide them in, in every skill, in every developmental stage of their life, in every growth of their life, every
Mm,
stages of their life. That's why
mm,
we are there. We are
mm.
not just there to provide for, or put food on the table and
Yeah,
pay the bills. We are not
yeah.
just there for that. We are there
Okay.
for emotional support. We are there for
Okay.
attention. We are there
Mm,
for physical support. We are there for
hmm.
financial support. We are there for them, to guide them, to
That's
train
right.
them, like the Bible says, train up a child in the way they should go. That is why we as parents, we are like mini helpers. God help us here on earth to train up.
Mm,
God needs us to train up our children, in
mm.
the way they should go, so that when they grow, they will not depart from it. So thank you very much.
Amen to that. Amen. I want to thank you so much, Mama Elizabeth, Mama Lucy. She said we need grace. We need the grace of God as parents to bring our children up. That's definitely Pastor Augustine. We shall salute. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. God bless you. Pastor Augustine, one of these days you have to be the one say next to me, and I'll bring Reverend Najat as well. Then we'll just go, we'll just flow.
That's
Pastor Augustine
right.
said, God bless you. Mama Patience, Mama Pat said, I have liked and shared. Thank you so much. Let me see. I see, let me see who else. My brother, Isaac Donko from Ghana. Thank you so much for joining. Mama Messi, Class P. Hey, Charlie. Actually, you trust Charlie. Class P, thank you so much for joining. Barnabas, I see you. He said, amazing. Thank you so much for joining as well. Yay, Lady Reverend. Najat, I know you have to go because you woke up around 4 and you have to help the kids.
That's
Oh, get
okay.
ready for school as well. Thank you so much. I don't know if you
That's
don't
all
love
right.
me and love Grace Home, you wouldn't do it. 4 a.m. Charlie,
This one is
please
called
help me
Odomiabra.
say thank you to Reverend. Ooh,
It's called Odomiabra.
yeah,
Odomia,
4
come on the
a.m.
show.
Wow, she's in Australia. 4 a.m. and she's up, joining us and helping us and teaching us as well. Bless you. Let me see. Let me see. Who else do I
Amen.
see
Thank
on?
you.
Mama Comfort Against a very educated program. God bless you, Reverend and Minister. God bless you too. So we are bringing today's episode to an end. God willing, next week, definitely 7 to 8, we'll be here.
Mm,
But the week after, which is the 24th, Reverend Najat will join us again. And again, we'll talk
mm.
about behaviors in our children. And
That's it.
I'm not bypassing your questions. My sister patient said, how can you help? How can you help your kids? So if a kid is being abused, how can we help them? You know what we'll do? We definitely have this question in mind. In 2 weeks, when
Yes.
Reverend Najah joins us, that'll be the first question we'll choose before we go into any other thing. I can see Jemima Bati. She said, "My name is from." Oh, oh my gosh. Sorry, Jemima. Sorry to hear this. We serve a
Mm,
God who is a divine healer. Only if you have a
that's right.
relationship with God and you trust it. I've got a reverend with me. Why am I talking? Reverend Najat, 1 minute. Just say a prayer
Yes.
over this baby for me, and then I'll round up. 1 minute, please.
Amen. And so, Father, we thank you for Fariha's life. Pray
Yes,
that you
Lord.
are the God of healing. You said
Yes,
you are the
Lord.
balm in Gilead. I pray for your healing power over her right now.
Yes,
Whatever
Lord.
sickness is going through her body right now, I pray for your healing. There is nothing impossible for you to do.
Nothing,
You are
nothing.
our healer. You are a great doctor, our great physician.
Yes,
Lord,
Lord.
I pray that you will heal her and touch her body right now and let your healing power ravage through her body right now in the name of
Jesus'
Jesus.
name.
I command every cancer cell to melt
Yes,
at the
Lord.
mention of the
Come on
name of
now.
Jesus
In the
and to
name of
melt out
Jesus.
of her body by the blood of Jesus and in the mighty
Yes,
name of
Lord.
Jesus. Lord, I thank you for healing her in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. And Jemima, I really hope and pray that you have a relationship with the Spirit of God. If you don't, or if you want someone to lead you, you see the name on here, Reverend Najat Darko, please drop her a message. Or you can drop a message to Reverend Doreen Cutter, and she will definitely will lead you to Christ. Because hey, he's a great healer. And I believe whatever it is you need, he will heal you and he will help you take care of your children. He's called a helper. That's who he is. So run into his
That's
arms.
right.
If you don't have a relationship, I encourage you to.
I'm not sure what happened there, but whilst we wait for Reverend Lauren to come on board, Thank you all so much for joining us on this program. And I believe, like she said, in 2 weeks' time, we are back on board again. And we are going to go into details or to dive in deeper into this topic of sexual abuse. And also, I believe we are also going to look into, the biblical views on sexual abuse and sexual assault. So thank you all so much for joining in. We really appreciate you wherever you joined in from. Good morning to you, good evening, good afternoon. And thank you so much. Joining again in 2 weeks' time, we'll be right here. Myself, Reverend Najate Darko, and my sister Laurie. God bless you all so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day. Bye bye for now.
Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise,